It's that time again. We got a bonus podcast because we got Aubrey Marcus, the CEO and Onnit owner. Aubrey, we usually
Magic
open,
Man is what I call him.
Yeah, we open with
just friend.
We open with a commercial typically for Onnit, but I have a question for you, and consider this the commercial for it because it's a serious question. I'm in Ottawa. I'm a guy's working on his PhD in neuroscience. His area of focus is how the gut affects the serotonin, etc., in your brain.
Nerd alert. But
Yes. No, actually, it's really new science, really cool. And I said, what kind of probiotics should I take? And he said to me, actually, the Onnit Total Gut Health hits all the markers that we talk about, like all the probiotic markers that you need, etc. And I was like, how interesting, because Aubrey's such a fucking stickler about detail and quality. So my question to you is, where did you do the research and how did you know that that was the shit to hit?
Yeah, gut health has been something we've been looking at for years. Like Rogan and I and everybody who's a top performer is taking probiotics, drinking kombucha. But it took literally 5 years for us to develop the Total Gut Pack, because finding probiotic strains that are both acid resistant so that the stomach acid in your natural gut doesn't eat it up and break them down is really important. So we had to find the acid resistant strains that were going to be most effective. And then with all the traveling I did, I found another strain, Saccharomyces boulardii, which is a yeast-based strain that's really good at helping with some of like the organisms you might pick up abroad. Like I just got back from Peru. So a nice combination of a 5-strain probiotic plus the Saccharomyces boulardii. And then the probiotics, they need something to eat. So we included prebiotics, organic dandelion greens. And these are the starches that allow that provide the food for the probiotics that you're putting in. So adding more probiotics, giving them food, and then helping break down the other stuff you're putting in the stomach. Betaine hydrochloric acid, which is going to help keep your stomach hot, break down the food, and then the digestive enzymes. So putting it all together, called it the Total Gut Pack.
And you take it just when you ever eat a big meal, but just once a day?
You can take it more times a day. I mean, probiotics are one of those things that there isn't like a rate limiting factor.
You're not going to OD on it.
Yeah, you're not going to overdose. No, you're going to feel good from the effects. And the gut brain connection is really well established, and that's where a lot of people are focusing, because the gut is where you're producing a lot of your immune cells, a lot of your neurotransmitters. Yeah. So taking care of your gut is going to benefit all aspects of your life. Inflammation, the reason a lot of people feel tired.
Eating well has to do with fucking total health.
Did you bring just a boatload of Total Gut Health to Peru? You just mentioned
I was smashing that.
You were how long? You were in Peru for how long?
7 days.
Cuts right through the ayahuasca.
Yeah,
cuts right through the ayahuasca.
We're eating fish pulled out of the river, and you never know what those fish are eating. And it's, you're having vegetables that are washed in the water and things like that. So having that gut health, I actually came back for the first time, and I've been to Peru many, many times. The first time I came back with no stomach or GI issues.
Why did you go to Peru? You brought the tribe with you.
Yeah.
You love Peru.
I hate Peru for sure.
You hate Peru.
Love hate.
Yeah, I mean the jungle's super intense.
Yeah,
I mean it's
because you're not staying at like the Four
place.
Seasons Peru.
No,
right?
No, I mean we're a boat ride deep into the jungle off the grid. So
you're in the jungle where there are plenty of jaguars.
Jaguars are there. Yes.
Did you see?
But the mosquitoes are a lot more annoying than the jaguars for sure.
Mosquitoes.
Did you see any what?
Did you see anything dangerous or anything like that?
There's snakes and spiders, all over the place.
Oh, they're wandering spiders. Those aren't there? Isn't that the Brazilian wandering spider? There are a lot of poisonous. There's some poisonous shit. I mean, a lot of things in the jungle want to poke you or bite you or fuck you up, but it's also like a really beautiful, embracing place too. It's just life upon life.
And why Peru? Because since I've known you, you've talked about Peru and all that stuff. So
Peru is home of the two of the greatest plant medicines of the world, ayahuasca and huachuma. And the practitioner down there that I go see, Don Howard Lawler, is at the top of his game.
His name's Don Howard?
Don Howard, yeah. And there's some other ayahuasca shamans, Don Robert, Doña Eliana, and the whole team that they have there.
Don being like
it's a title it's a title like maestro,
like Don Pablo.
Yeah, exactly.
For Pablo Escobar.
Exactly.
Watching Narcos.
Right.
So yeah, I mean they provide it at the very highest level, and that's where it originated. Sites like Chavin de Huantar, like 3,000-year-old sites that were offering these plant medicines as a sacrament to the people, and they've brought that tradition back, and in some ways, like with the ayahuasca, carried that tradition through for thousands of years. So it's going back to the source.
So it's the mecca of ayahuasca.
It is really, yeah.
How did you even get a hold of these guys? You sure as hell don't email them.
No,
right?
well,
hey,
you
what's
can.
up, man? Aubrey Marcus at Onnit.com. Just reaching out. Like, how's that work?
You can now, but
You slid into his DMs?
originally it's just working your way up the food chain. Going from one spot where it's pretty good to another spot. But you got to be careful because there's a lot of shady areas there. But I call this guy Gandalf because he really looks and acts like you would expect a real life white wizard to act. And, he's only got a couple more years. So Why do
you like sort of psychedelics and ayahuasca so much? What do you get out of it?
I think that the way that we advance, the way that we get better as humans is finding a challenge and putting our best up against that challenge. Like ayahuasca brings so much fucking heat. It like brings you to the very brink where any more and you might fail, but it'll give you just enough. So it's an opportunity to really bring your best. Like if you were a fighter, it would be that opponent that you could barely win in a 5-round battle, like the person that brought out your very, very best. And ayahuasca always does that because it's bringing it out of yourself. It's bringing enough resistance that you can overcome and become a better person.
Meaning what, Aubrey? Like, so let's say I'm not a fighter. I'm not a president of a major company. I'm just a regular dude and I work a 9 to 5. What would ayahuasca do for me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so what are the things that are limiting your greatest happiness and greatest success? Maybe it's lingering anxiety. Maybe it's fears about death. Maybe it's fears about talking to the girl you want to talk about, or fears about starting the business you want to start.
Yeah.
These things have deep psychological roots. Maybe you don't feel worthy of the success and that's why you do it. Maybe you haven't forgiven yourself for things that happened in the past.
Preach, son.
So by going there and confronting all that, you get an opportunity to see that, and it gets magnified and blown up in sometimes incredibly visual ways. And you get an opportunity to see that and overcome it and see if you can get better from it.
Like going into it and not running away from it.
Running straight out.
We were talking about this.
You have a break. Sorry, B. Yeah. And you have a breakthrough every time you go? Or is there sometimes you go, you're like, God damn, I got nothing out of that.
Sometimes it's subtler and sometimes it's really fucking gnarly and intense. Like this last time was a straight up battle to the death.
Describe that. What do you mean?
All right. So I haven't told this story yet. So this is the first time I'll tell this latest story.
You've been playing grab ass on these other shows.
Yeah, you're playing grab ass on this other bullshit. You ready now? You people fucking ready?
Go ahead.
First of all, you're welcome in advance. God damn it.
So about a month ago, I had this trip booked, but I didn't have all the dates set out. And I wake up from this dream. And in the dream, this demon comes to me, like really visible, visceral demon comes to me and says, I'm going to kill you on September 23rd. And then boom, I wake up and open my eyes.
Well, that's
And it was
intense.
like, that was fucking gnarly. It's
Nothing
like
subtle about that demon.
It's like 4 a.m. No, it was very precise. I'm going to kill you on September 23rd. So it's 4 a.m. I click open my phone. I look at the dates of the trip. And that's the night that we have scheduled for ayahuasca. Now, maybe somewhere in my mind I knew that, but I wouldn't have been able to recite that. I was like, somewhere 21st through 27th. Anyways, that's the night we were planning to do ayahuasca. So I'm like, oh, fuck, this is going to be a big one. So knowing that going through, I was kind of preparing, but some of it was just, I was thinking, man, maybe that was just a dream, right? So we go to drink the medicine, and ayahuasca is this psychedelic tea that they've been serving for thousands of years, DMT-based, orally active.
Hot tea.
And that's not hot, but it's spicy as fuck. It's like you're literally drinking the jungle. I actually have a documentary on the website, drinkthejungle.com, for anybody who's
if
interested.
it's not called Drink in the Jungle, you fucked up.
Yeah, Drink the Jungle. So anyways.
Good. That's a good title.
Yeah. So anyways, I drink the tea, and pretty much 30 minutes in, they start singing the Icaros, Yeah. You guys have heard those.
Yeah.
And so they start singing the Icaros, and it starts off super mellow. And I'm seeing flowers and I'm seeing the jungle, but I'm feeling like what feels like what I call the little doctors, which is like little pieces of light that seem to be fixing different parts of my head and heart. They like come through and they like almost like rewiring the circuits is what it feels like in my head. So I'm feeling that, and I hear this voice like, oh man, just chill. It was just a dream. Don't worry about it. So I was like, oh, awesome. I started having really cool visions. Like the first vision I had was this monument of this monkey. And then the words written in like inscribed in the stone, it says, we are the pleasure monkeys. And I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. That's really what we are. We're fucking pleasure monkeys. We're here to like enjoy shit,
I'm
eat
a big
shit,
ass pleasure
have
orangutan.
sex and smile and laugh.
Yeah.
And like,
Orangutan.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so I was able to like identify this body and everything. It's like, all right, I'm a pleasure monkey. Like, I'm cool with that.
Great t-shirt.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So anyways, so, you know, go through the pleasure monkey, but still it's fixing that. And I'm thinking, man, this is going to be chill. I'm an hour in. There's only another couple hours to go. And then boom, like right out of my left-hand side. And I'm going to, first let me say a caveat. I'm not a religious guy, but there's some religious kind of context to this that just kind of came up. And, you know, a lot of this, and don't read into it too much. This is just my vision. This is just what's in my mind.
This is your experience.
So anyway, so this demon comes to me from my left-hand side, and it's like this gnarly golem looking like a little thief, ugly, nasty little demon, like one
Satan,
of the little
like
vampire.
horns or something?
No. But he like bald head and like little vampire demon.
Just a little shithead.
Just like a little shithead demon, you know?
Schmiegel.
Schmiegely. Very schmiegely,
Yeah.
right? But it's compared to the other visions, which are like kind of pastel-y and very ephemeral, this is like, there's a fucking demon right there. So I identify it, and I've learned through my battles that you don't fight these guys. You just send them love. You recognize them being part of consciousness, part of the duality of all things that are life, light and dark, necessary to create the cosmos, necessary to allow free will, because without resistance, we would just escalate to enlightenment immediately. Everything would be easy. Mm-hmm. The game would be boring. It'd be like a video game without monsters. So the best way to treat these demons is to send them love. Be like, hey man, like, here you are. I see you. I love you. You know, I appreciate the fact that you're holding down that polarity for all of consciousness. So that demon doesn't give a shit about me saying that, and immediately jumps on my neck.
He wants to eat your face.
He starts eating my neck.
Vampire.
Right? Yeah, vampire.
Vampire.
And can you physically feel that?
You can't physically feel it, but you know that there's a demon eating your neck. Yeah. And it's just, and I'm just staying chill, and I'm trying to remind him, like, hey man, you know, I'm consciousness, you're consciousness, I'm you, you're me. It's all good. We're all good. And he's eating towards my heart, right? And I do a meditation where I imagine there's this brilliant white light in my heart, which is the center of my consciousness, right? That's where I find home, because you can get lost in the headspace and in your own mind very easily. But if you center your consciousness in your heart, you're a lot more likely to be stable. But I see him eating towards my heart. So he's eating down there. I was like, yo, you want to eat my heart? It's cool, man. And I was really practicing my own invincibility at that point, like surrendering to my own invincibility. It's like, oh, you want to eat that thing? Go ahead. So he goes through my neck. He eats that part of my heart. And instantly, as soon as he does, I felt like I died. My body went completely limp, like a sniper shot me in the head.
Jesus Christ.
And at that point, sheer terror runs through my body, because I think, oh, fuck, I just fucked up. I just let a demon eat my soul.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
right?
that's terrifying.
So that was one of the most terrifying moments of my life ever, because I literally felt like at that point I was dead. I was dead. I let a demon eat my soul. But inside my head, and I've been in dark, dark places before, I've always gotten through them by choosing faith over fear, like just believing that I was going to be okay and anchoring myself to love, any kind of love. Like that's the way out of the darkest points. So I had this voice saying like, nah, man, you're going to be all right. He can't eat that. It's yours. He can't eat that. You're all right. You're going to be all right. It'll grow back if he took it. If not, whatever, you're going to be fine. But the other part of me is just freaked the fuck out. So I start negotiating with him, right? So I'm like, come on, man. I really would like that back. You know, we're the same. We're cool. You know, like
I could need my heart back. Sir.
Yeah, but I need that back. And he's like laughing,
soul.
and then he goes, okay, and he gives me something back, and greedily I grab at that thing and I stuff it back in, but it's not it. It's dead. It's some dead piece of rock. And he just starts laughing at me like, ha 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 ha, like I got you, I tricked you. I was like, oh fuck. And then he scurries off. And he brings me to what looks like his boss. And his boss is who I call the world crusher. It is like, if you were in biblical terms, it's the devil. It's the greatest, capital R, resistance, like all of the darkness
Satan.
of the universe. And he's so big, and just horns and fire and black and red, and he's just reveling in power. He has worlds in his hand, and he's just crushing and crumbling worlds in his hand.
Damn, son.
Yeah, and I'm looking at him, and he's so fucking big. He's like crumbling universes, and I'm this tiny thing. Like, how the fuck am I going to negotiate with him to get my soul back, right? And, you know, but still, at that point, I was like, I tried to blow myself up and like make myself bigger so we could be, you know, on the level where I could talk. It didn't work. There was no way I could get to that size. It was way too big. It's like, fuck, that strategy's not going to work. So I just had this idea. I was like, because I understand that even that amount of darkness is truly necessary to allow this amount of light and love for the universe. Like there has to be a cosmic balance. The darkness has to be balanced by the light. That force has to exist for there to be creation. So I sent all the love I could to that force and that darkness, and I kissed him right between the eyes, like right between his horns, and kissed him on the forehead and just said, I love you, man. And as soon as I did that, his eyes like went emoji heart style in my vision. Obviously,
this is
my
a
vision.
fucking vision and a half.
God damn,
So his eyes went emoji heart style, like boing. And he relaxed for a second, stopped crushing worlds. And for one moment, I heard the voice like, he tells me, he's like, don't worry, we can't steal your heart. That's yours. And there was like a lapse in the darkness. And I was like, whew, that was intense,
Dude.
but I'm still shaky as fuck, right? So I start, I'm feeling a little better, and that vision kind of goes out of my mind. And I start going around, making reparations with different individuals in my life. And someone very close to me, I won't mention exactly who, but someone in my family is really suffering from some mental conditions, right? And I'm thinking about him, and at that point, I'm thinking maybe this force of darkness, the devil or whatever that was in my visions then, maybe he's kind of my homie now. I kissed him on the head. He got all googly eyed.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, do you mind like giving him his
marbles
his soul
back?
back? Yeah, his marbles back. And then out of like, it felt like a Leviathan. He changed, the darkness changed form, and it was like a giant sea monster, and it wraps me in this tentacles and it goes, you want to make a deal? It's like, I'll take your soul for his. And instantly that fear comes back, and I'm like, fuck.
Jesus.
And he starts fucking with my mind. He's like, oh, I thought you were invincible. Why don't you want to make this deal? Do you not love him? Do you not love him enough? Are you not invincible? Why don't you make this deal? And these tentacles are like wrapping around my neck, just getting strangled and crushing my chest and testing what I had told myself, which is, you have nothing to fear, bro. You're invincible, right? So he's fucking with me bad at that point. So eventually I said, you know what? I can't make that deal. Like, I love you. I appreciate what you're doing. That's between you and him. It's not my business to meddle in. And then
That's kind of sad too, isn't it?
it was sad. It was really sad because I knew at that point
like,
I couldn't.
Fuck my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Like I couldn't.
Sorry, man.
I couldn't help him.
That's
at that
his
point.
demons.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, because
God, dog, how deep did
That's
we
crazy.
get there?
Yeah.
Well,
And
you
it's
know,
not even done.
and you've done this.
Yeah,
keep
you-
going.
you
keep
didn't let
going.
him finish.
Yeah, keep going, because I have a
Please
question. after
finish.
this.
Yeah.
Me and the listeners are going to be pissed if we don't get an end to the story.
Yeah.
So, all right. So after that, that was a really kind of sad moment, like that. But I understood that that's a relationship between him and his own demons. And I have no qualms with saying that these forces are within me. They don't have to project them out to be some force external, but we all have our own demons inside us. And I was recognizing that and recognizing my own demons and the demons that are in society. And it's just part of the game, and it's just part of the matrix. So anyways, I'm still a little shaky now again from that. And I was thinking like, God damn, I could really use some help from the light, like from the light side, like God, Jesus, somebody, something representing, some symbol representing the light side of the world want to come fucking help me out here? Like, come on. So I do that, and I hear this really faint voice, and it's like, I was like, oh, of course, I'm here. I'm here for you. I have something for you. And it's like, put this in your heart. And it's this brilliant red stone, like the most beautiful ruby I've ever seen in my life.
Pigeon blood.
Yeah.
It's like pigeon blood ruby.
So I look at it and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. I mean, I guess red and heart, that makes sense. I always thought of my heart being white, but I guess red makes sense. And I could feel like myself wanting to put it in my chest. And it's all in my vision, right? So I grab it, I put it in my chest, and instantly I know something's wrong, because that force that I just put in there is hungry. It's hungry for more power. It wants to devour. It wants more control. It wants things that your heart doesn't want, what real love doesn't want. Love that shines like the sun and wants the greatest good for all. That's not what I put in my heart. So I realized at that point that I was tricked again, that the darkness had given me a stone of power to put back in my heart, right? So I pull it out, and it was like, at that point, it was like fucking the ring from Lord of the Rings, right? It was this force of incredible darkness that was in my vision, and I had to do something with it. So I tried like imagining putting it in different environments in my vision, but as soon as I would put it in an environment, that environment would just die. Like wherever I put it in the mountains dead. I put it in the jungle dead, deceased. So I was like, fuck, I got this stone. And then then this voice starts fucking with me again because I'd already been tricked once. So I'm super unsure of myself. The voice is like, you can hold it. Just put it back in your chest. That's the place for it. You're the only one strong enough to hold this. And so I put it back in my chest and I was like, fuck, that's a terrible idea. Like I got to get this thing out. And so my only idea then was to dissolve it back into the entire universe. Like the only thing that could hold that much darkness was the entire universe, all of the cosmos. So shattered it into a billion pieces and let the whole universe, all of creation.
Writers in Hollywood right now are like this.
And let me ask you,
and what did it look
before you
like?
go on, as you're having this vision, where were you sitting? What do you think your body was doing?
I'm lying down just
in the woods or what?
The jungle sounds are all around.
group of
Icaros.
people?
Yeah, there's 18 people there, but
And they're all tripping balls.
they're all tripping in their own experience.
just
But
laying
I'm
there.
locked in.
This ayahuasca shit is no joke.
You know what's crazy? Like, meanwhile, the shamans almost never purge. They don't ever puke. But as soon as I started interacting with these dark forces, like they're kind of controlling the energy of the room, they were just puking their guts out. Like,
Damn.
ugh. Like they were like
they were
helping,
doing it as well?
They were helping me with this energy that was moving through, right? So I knew it was gnarly, and I kept trying to send them messages like, "It's gonna be all right. Like it's gonna be cool." In your mind, right? Like I got this. Like we're gonna be okay. But anyway, so I dissolved the red stone, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is so gnarly." And I was like, "Man, like, can I like at least see like a Jesus or something like that?"
A little light at the end of the tunnel.
There was like a moment of respite where I saw Jesus come in, and Jesus met that dark force who could be the devil. And again, I'm using Christian terms, like all of the light meets all of the dark, and they immediately turned into gay lovers. And I got like a chance to like laugh, and be like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Of course they love each other. All of the light, of course, loves all of the dark. It's the perfect balance. It's the yin and yang of the cosmos, right? Mm-hmm. And still though, I'm just sitting there kind of unsure, and I got a little bit of laugh out of it, and I can still feel the pull of darkness, and I just kind of surrendered deeper to just love and faith. And then I felt something really cool happen, and I felt this like breastplate come like slap onto my chest, boom, and this big like fire opal gem right in my heart. And as soon as that hit me, I like just completely relaxed, and I felt light, like super light. And then I could feel wings like coming out of my back, and then all of a sudden I was flying like with all the eagles and angels of the world.
Roll now.
Yeah, and it was fucking amazing.
And how long is this? How many hours?
This has been hours.
This is about 4
Yeah, like a lifetime.
It was 9 days.
A lifetime.
We look like we're on fire.
But
Let me ask you.
The ayahuasca you said lasts like 4 hours, 5 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too long. Simply too long, sir.
But this is my thing. But Aubrey, you've done this before. You're kind of a pro when it comes to ayahuasca. Those other people on this journey, there's no way they're going, all right, this happens. I'm going to deal with this. It was oh, shit.
Because you were navigating.
I'm going to rip my dick off.
Yeah. You're navigating with all your powers.
Because you're first team all pro ball ayahuasca.
But that's the thing about ayahuasca. It brings you, as I said, it brings you just enough that you can barely pass it with all your skills. So it's not going to give you, it's just like a UFC matchmaker. They're not going to give you heavyweight champion of the world for your debut fight.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Let me ask you. I have a question for you.
I see what you're saying.
I have a question.
It depends what level. It's going to max.
It's going to max you out so you can just barely overcome it.
And that's what it did for me. I've never been on that trip. I'm sure if I go on that trip, it's not going to introduce me to Satan and the stuff. And I have this ruby.
It might, sir.
Well, no, I'm not ready for that.
Me neither. Hey, either am I. Now, here's a question I have for you. You put yourself in these situations a lot. I know a little bit about the person you were talking about. You were telling me about a little bit. Who you've had somebody who in your family and who has some problems. Do you think that you have a fear in some ways of maybe losing your mind? Do you think that some of this is a personal question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think all of us are you're the kind of guy that if you're afraid of something, you confront it. Yeah. And do you think that a lot of that is sort of trying to get control? Because Brendan and I were talking about how so much of life is, they call it the elephant, and then there's somebody riding the elephant, and the elephant is that sort of the way your mind reacts and the things you don't have control over, the part of your mind that is a product of your beliefs, of your trauma, of your fears, of all the things we were talking about. And that mind just reacts. That mind just gets you to do things. And then, of course, you have to kind of reel it in and be in control.
Yep.
And you're clearly somebody who's very in touch with that elephant, but you're also somebody who's also very much in it seems, on the journey of learning how to really navigate that elephant where you want it to go.
Sure.
Right? And do you think that is a large part of your motivation? Or is that too personal?
It's definitely a part of it, because to me, anything that I'm afraid of, and of course, when you have someone in your family who has something like that happen, it's going to concern you, because what greater nightmare would there be than
Losing
you not being in control of your mind and hurting people you love without being able to stop it? That's a worse fate than death.
Yes.
If you got the choice, like either die and be who you are the whole way, or lose your mind and hurt everybody you love. Easy choice.
Which is why if you look into it, not to change, but Robin Williams' wife released a statement. That's basically what he decided to do. He's losing his mind. He wasn't the same. He was hurting everyone around him. So he's like, fuck it, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to be the Robin Williams everyone knows and loves and this creative genius, because he's literally losing his mind, he's like, I'm out.
A friend of mine's really self-destructive, and I could never figure it out because he had everything going for him and still does. And I would just watch him eat like 4 men, smoke, drink like 10 men, and I could never figure out what was going on. And I said to him once, he went to the doctor, and the doctor looked in his mouth, and the doctor found what he thought were sort of precancerous cells. And he said, my friend said, what do I do about it? And the doctor goes, practice some self-restraint for God's sake. And he kind of laughed. And of course he hasn't. And I said to him once, I said, what are you doing? And he said, you got to die something. And then I found out that every man in his family didn't live past 60. And so that trauma of growing up and seeing that, kind of for him, he's like, I got 60 fucking years.
Self-sabotage?
Right, I'm going to live this thing, to its fullest. It's just interesting how we become a product of what our trauma is,
Well, so for me, it's just about, so you identify that fear. That fear is real for me, for sure. So there's 2 ways. One, you can let it lurk around in your subconscious, and it can fuck with me and give me anxiety and give me stress and ruin the quality of my life. Or I can do the things most likely to make me go insane, head straight towards my deepest fear and confront it. And then when you do that time and time again, you confront, and fight through situations where it feels like you're losing your mind. Like it feels like you just got your heart eaten by a demon, and it feels like and you come out the other side, you get a newfound confidence.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? That's not going to happen to me.
That's
because I'm going out, I'm meeting it on its terms, and I'm facing it
instead of it
coming to me and being in this
I appreciate that, man.
passive victim mode. Like, I hope this doesn't happen. Like, well, let's go out and see.
Well, they
That's
say
pretty
that,
inspiring.
They say that with military, like the guys who are in the special forces who go out and seek the violence and go out and seek missions. Most of them don't have PTSD. It's the guys who, they signed up for it. They're going on these missions. They're waiting. They're reacting, but they're not attacking it. Those are the guys who come back with the worst PTSD.
Yeah.
But the guys who attack it straight on,
maybe that's life, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
life, man.
They go for it. You know what I'm saying?
Lean into the challenge.
Meeting everything halfway it seems to be like surfing, all of that stuff. If you look at that, when you watch Riding Giants, and Laird Hamilton was riding, on Surfer Magazine, it says, oh my God, try to bring it up because you got to see it. It says, oh my God. And he was riding a wave that essentially was so powerful that what happens is when a wave is, 12 stories high or whatever, it sucks you up. The energy of the wave will actually spit you out. It's crazy. And Laird Hamilton knew somehow the way he was leaning, he was touching the inside of the wave when usually I guess you touch the outside of the wave, which is whatever it was, the technical thing. But somehow in his mind, he knew to do that. Somehow in his mind also, he knew that if he fell, there was a 50-50 chance he was going to die.
It's the 4th row.
It says, oh my God.
I'm sure it's one of these.
Yeah.
Look at that giant one.
Yeah.
One below.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
That.
And they said if you fall, if he fell here, he wasn't going to make it. I mean, the chances of making it. And I always feel like that, and when you hear these guys who ride these giants, that's kind of how they navigate that. And when they get taken in that wave, sometimes they'll get tossed around for a full football field. And, and then they'll get hit with another wave, and they're just like, the way you deal with that is you don't fight it. You go with
Or
it.
you just don't surf big
Or
waves.
you just don't surf.
That's kind of
or you just don't
that's
surf
a tough
big
analogy,
waves.
but I hear
It's
you.
not
I hear
really.
you.
Not really,
I hear
because
you. But-
they're putting themselves, they come out of that a different person.
Some of them, or they die.
Yeah.
You could just not surf big waves and just surf. But with Aubrey, you're the one guy in my life who doesn't, like, you. It'd be hard to, if someone goes, who's Aubrey Marcus? You're the one guy where I'm like, God, man, like to describe Aubrey's a pretty complicated situation.
I know how
you know what I'm
to
saying?
describe- yeah.
But it's very easy. Like most people are, you think outside the box, you do things outside the box, you do what you want. Your supplements are different. Your life is different. Your entire being's different. You'll be in LA. You'll be in Peru. Like I don't have a friend. No one else in my life.
Unorthodox. He's very unorthodox.
Very unorthodox.
Yeah.
Very unorthodox. And it's very like you're doing on your terms. It's inspiring. You do all this stuff.
Thanks, brother.
And to me, I'm like, I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, God, what makes Aubrey kind of, and it's true, people are drawn to you if you think about it. Think about the people you surround yourself with. There's you have this leader quality, which is why I think Onnit works. You know what I'm saying? If you go to the Onnit office or the Onnit headquarters, it's basically the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for grown ass people who like fitness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's an environment, you walk in there,
it's
everyone's
great.
happy, no one's quitting. Everyone wants to be there. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, I wonder because I'm how good am I at reading people? And I was thinking, how would I define Aubrey? I can't do it. You're one of the few guys I can't do it.
I look at it this way. I look at it as like, I think most of us are making excuses for why we don't want the perfect life. Because see, we have really weird, like there's lots of really weird shit around, say, for example, making a lot of money, right? You hear people say, well, I money's the root of all evil. But then again, if I make a lot of money, I won't have time to spend it. There are a lot of things around money. There are a lot of things around dating or marrying the person that you're really attracted to. Beauty doesn't last. That's all fleeting. You hear a lot of this stuff that's sort of self-defeating. There's this, and there is wisdom to some of it.
There's
Don't
truth to a lot
be a
of it, though.
materialist,
Yeah.
of course. But when I look at you, and we've had long conversations about your philosophy on all things relationship, on your philosophy on all things, whatever it might be, on how to live your life, you seem to be somebody who said, I am going to really listen to my inner compass, and I'm going to essentially create a masterpiece of my life. I'm going to figure out exactly how to live on my terms, how, when, and what. I want maximum freedom and autonomy, no apologies. And so I look at a guy who has followed, not only you have a hedonistic lifestyle to an extent, but that also comes with a great deal of self-restriction, a great deal of
Balance.
balance.
But the question is, and we can jack you off all day here. We both just did for about 15 minutes. Yeah. The question is what's next? You know what I'm saying? Like how's it get better for Aubrey?
Life is so good. And I think it's about not always looking next. It's just about being present with what is, like that's
How
one of the
tough
great
is that to do though?
Super. It's the hardest thing to do, but that's one of the things that, so moving from ayahuasca to wachuma is like a very serotonergic plant medicine. It really opens your heart and awakens you to the beauty all around you. And when you're on that medicine, it just opens your eyes to how fucking awesome things are. I think we get so goal oriented and goal driven, and we're always looking at what's next and what else we can do. But when you're on that medicine, man, like hugging somebody who you love is like so infinitely pleasurable that you couldn't possibly imagine that there could be something more enjoyable. Going for a swim in the Amazon, yeah, it's dirty, it's brown, but that water on your skin and the sun hitting you and the sand beneath your feet, it's so good that what possibly more could you ever want in life? And you can't keep that and you can't feel that all the time, but it'll remind you of that. And I think for me, I have goals and different things I want to do. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to do the best that I can and be of service to as many people as I can. But the best reminder is just enjoy it every fucking step of the way, and that's really what's next for me. How much more can I enjoy every mundane thing? How much more can I enjoy this podcast here, hanging with you guys, and when I drive home and when I have the next meal?
I think what's going
you're talking about connection, I think.
Well, I think the human connection. But I think what's going to be tough is if someone wanted to be the next Aubrey Marcus, like if someone wants to be the next Brian Callen, someone wants to be the next Brendan Schaub. I hate referring to myself in third person, but I mean, there's a blueprint for it. It's pretty. I mean, play football, find the UFC, start a podcast, start doing stand-up.
Getting my dick. Good luck.
I've seen bigger, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's a pretty. But to follow what you've done, Aubrey, it'd be tough, man. Does that make sense?
Everybody's just got to go. They got to identify what your win is, you know. And I have that online course coming out it's called Go for Your Win, and I really believe that. I wrote 30,000 words of like trying to distill what that is, but it's really about just everybody finding what their win in life is and going for that, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Well,
not everybody wants to be me or you or Brian, or should. They should be what's going to suit them the best, and then just start dumping out all of the bullshit and excuses. The problem is people
and I have a close friend who's dealing with this. Is she doesn't know what winning is? You know what I'm saying? Like she has all this. Yeah, and she's like, I don't know, man. Like I have all these skills, I have all these assets, but I don't know what to do. I'm like, only you can figure that out. Like we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but I can't tell you what your future looks like.
I think one of the traps is to look at it as a noun or look at it as a destination. Because I think people run into real problems when they sort of isolate what they want, and then they get it, and then they realize, oh fuck, I feel the same. So for example, one of the people that kind of awes me a little bit is David Foster Wallace. His book Infinite Jest is a bit of a masterpiece. His essays are amazing, but he's a guy who, as a writer, I mean, at 30 was recognized as just this prodigy. Now he would hate that term, but for me, like, he did something artistically. He created an opus that, kind of is a bit mind-blowing. And he kind of wrote it and got all this attention and basically killed himself when he was 46. And everyone was scratching their head going, how the fuck could a guy like this, who had so much to say, who made such a difference, who was such an inspiration,
had mental health issues for sure.
It wasn't mental health issues. Maybe it was, but at the same time, brother, he had deep, deep depression over the fact that he got, but he got what he wanted. And he was very articulate about the fact that it wasn't making him happy. And so what I'm saying is that sometimes it is kind of best to recognize that there is no destination.
No doubt.
But the doing of the thing is great, and don't forget at the same time to make these fucking connections and to be a little bit, I'm a big believer in doing shit you're afraid of. That might be part of the big answer. The minute you get really comfortable.
What were you going to say?
I think it starts with your mission. Like, I think we're really a force in motion. We're a cause for an effect. And I think when we lose sight of that, then things get a little lost. Like, that's our real guide star. Like, what are we here to do? Are we here to maximize our own enjoyment? We're pleasure monkeys. Maximize your pleasure.
Come on, 1, 2, 3 pleasure monkeys.
Yeah, totally. 1, 2, 3 pleasure monkeys.
And maximize the pleasure of everyone else around you, of the whole earth. Like, everybody who's in existence, like, make the whole game more fun. Like, it ain't no fun if the homies don't have none.
Preach.
Like, that's really what it's all about. And that gets summed up in Peru. You say para el bien de todos, for the good of all. And then when you really do that, you can empty yourself of all the ego and really forgive yourself and not try to make it all about you and what you're going to do and what you're going to accomplish. Like, how can you feel the most pleasure because you deserve to feel the most pleasure? How can you help everybody else feel the most? Because we're all fucked up. I'm fucked up. I'm ignorant. I'm constantly shocked at how quickly I forget the lessons I learn. But it's also, I've learned to forgive myself fast and not belabor these things and just recognize that no matter all of the failings that I've had, no matter how stupid I was when I was younger, it's all part of life. It's all part of existence.
The failings you have may not be failings. It may be part of a mindset that makes you better at something else. So sometimes you might be bad at this, but that's precisely why you're good at something else. So it's another way to look at things.
Yeah, it's just part of the game, and then realizing that I'm here as a force for the good of all. How can I do that the best job that I can? Yeah. And then that makes things a lot easier.
It's funny, Aubrey and I were talking about this. He was out here weeks ago. We were talking on the phone about some of this stuff, going back and forth. And then I meet him at a coffee joint. He's like, man, what's new? And I was like, bought a Bentley.
Silence.
And then Aubrey just was like, you've learned nothing.
No, man.
And then as soon as I said that, I'm like, God damn it. In my mind, I went, you fucking idiot.
I like those. I think so you mentioned something earlier too. You said, make it your masterpiece. And one of my best philosophies that I go back to is the Toltec philosophy. And Toltec means artist. And be the artist of your own life and make it a masterpiece. And one of the things in Toltec philosophy is called controlled folly. Like, it's understanding that something like a Bentley, ultimately it's folly. It's play. It doesn't matter.
It's fun.
It's fun. But as long as you know that it's fun, and then if that Bentley got taken away, repoed, or fucking someone stole it, or it got scratched,
commit
it's
suicide.
only a
I'm just kidding.
No, man, you're missing the point, dude.
I'm just kidding.
like
Follow along.
the only issue is if that fucks you up. But if you can just play with it, and then if something happens to your Bentley, you go, something happened to my
It's just
Bentley.
a car.
It's just a car. Then enjoy every aspect of life. Just don't get attached to it. I mean, that's what the Buddhists talk about with attachment as well. It's not the things that you have, it's your attachment to those things. I actually think it's an easier road to get rid of all of the things that you might be attached to in order to remove attachment. A more challenging and more badass way to live is to have all of the badass things and still not be attached to them. Be like,
Correct.
oh yeah, I have all this money. If I didn't have it, oh well. I'm still cool too.
That's
like,
what Christ said was the hardest thing for a rich man to do: give up his wealth.
Well, it's like
Sticky.
Russell.
drop Christ
It's
in
like
this
Russell
conversation.
Peters. Russell Peters, he has a ton of watches, and he had this amazing Breitling, right? And a guy, I guess, kind of his friend at the comedy store goes, "Man, that's a great watch." He goes, "This one?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I saw it the other day." He goes, "Cool." Takes it off, goes, "It's yours." He goes, "I don't care about that stuff, man." The guy's like, "What?" And I heard that story. I'm like, Jesus, that's exactly like he doesn't care about that materialistic stuff, man.
Yeah, it's tough though.
You guys can't have my fucking watch.
Yeah,
you know,
he owns a lot, yeah.
You touch my
When you own a
Rolex,
lot of
I'll kill
watches.
everyone in here. But yeah, I hear you.
Well, you also said, I mean, when you work really hard at something, for something.
I wouldn't say I'm a materialistic person. I like to me, it's art, and I like the craft that goes
like
into
nice
them.
things.
Yeah, but again, if I didn't have, like, I've not had those things and I've been happy. I've had them and I've not been happy. Like, it does. I realize that happiness definitely doesn't come with those things that at all.
Well, that's that. Like, if you have a Tesla, I love that Tesla. It makes my life easier because I actually really like driving it.
Couple 1-2 Tesla lovers.
Yeah, and I just whatever. It's a nice car, so for me, it's got to pick up. It's just fun to drive and everything else. If you gave me a second Tesla, my happiness quotient wouldn't go any further.
Yeah,
You know,
but it
there's
did
a
when it
limit.
went from Passat to Tesla.
100%.
Just the other day, he goes, "I'll never go back."
100%.
Blah, blah, blah.
100%. I was like, what have I been doing this whole time?
Yes.
There's something about driving a nice car that you must give credit to. It's a fucking really fun, nice car to drive. I feel better in it. It's easier to drive in Los Angeles.
But you're the type of guy, you wouldn't care if it got
No,
destroyed
I'm an
in
extreme that
accident.
way though. I've always been that way. My father used to laugh because my father grew up poor, and one time I had a Ford. I've told the story before, and he said, but it was just so dusty and old, and he said, I will buy you a Lexus right now. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're driving this, you're making money. Why don't you get yourself a nice car? I go, it doesn't matter to me. He goes, I'll buy you a Lexus right now. And I went, nah, I don't want one. And he goes, you've always been that way as a kid. It just didn't dawn on you that would make your life better. But by the way, it might have. But by the way, I might be wrong about that in terms of it was a lot more comfortable.
No, there's a lot of people like my
lot of people like
brother
that.
and I. We grew up like, when Jordans would come out, it was like you were the cool kid in school. Like, we have to have the Jordans, and it's just the culture we grew up in. And even now, like, my brother said, like, look, these shoes come out tomorrow, or check this watch out, check this car. Like, we've just been that way. Like, it's not the end all for us, but
Well,
it's
that's
just, we
different
like
too,
cool
though, Brennan,
shit.
because that comes from,
Yeah.
like, I know somebody who likes nice things because as a kid she grew up poor.
Yeah.
And so when she wears nice jewelry or has a nice purse, she's treated with some dignity, and she remembers being humiliated by the fact she didn't have money. And so there's a lot of that emotional stuff that comes with it, and that I very much understand, where having a nice car, people do treat you differently. They do. When you have nice clothing, there is a certain status where, I can understand how you remember having nothing and being dirty and having no clothing, and that's humiliating.
It's very much linked to your ego, and the more that
100%
ego is one of those things too that I think people should work head on.
Yeah.
Like, not just allow it to behind the scenes control you, and you should confront it and just understand what that force is. That force that likes to feel better than other people and feel respected. The ego is always saying, how dare you, to everybody who comes across, like, respect me.
Yeah.
And understand what that voice is and not hate it, send it love again, and recognize that that's a part of you and be willing to play in that. But understand too that ultimately that's folly as well.
Well, I feel like
But don't you feel like you have to have a bit of an ego? Like, you were successful doing you were in business, some shit like that. When you're doing something else, I read this book, Ego is the Enemy. I couldn't disagree with it anymore. But you would have to have some sort of ego to risk being like, I know this is comfort and I'm making money. I'm going to go do this in the supplement world. You have to have some sort of ego go, I can do that. I can make that. You know what I'm saying?
Belief in yourself is not necessarily ego, but ego is a very motivating factor. Like I want to prove this to the people who doubted me, you know? So, and that is a huge motivating factor. And I think it's a motivational force that people can use, but ultimately a better motivational, to me, that's like burning coal. Like it's definitely a fuel source. It can power a world, but it's dirty. You know, it has, because at that point, the ego is always hungry. It's like the red gem from my stone. It's never satisfied. Yeah. And if you're only using that, no matter how big you get, you'll still want to get bigger. You want to consume more fans, more adulation, more money. So you have to understand that you're burning coal and it's going to come with a cost to your internal environment, and it's never going to be satiable. But on the other hand, if you use pure inspiration and love and be like, man, I want to accumulate as much as I possibly can so I can affect the world in the biggest possible positive way. Like that's like clean ass energy. That's like wind energy. That's like solar, you know, and so I recommend using both. Like you don't need to be, I'm not trying to be a fucking monk here. Like I love to fuck. I love to eat. I love nice shit. Like, and I also love to meditate. And I also love to try and push as much love into the world. Like, play, have fun, and leave it better. You can have both. You can meet someone so use some of that ego motivation. You see that somebody who's a little better than you, a little richer, you know, allow yourself that, I'm gonna fucking get you, motherfucker. Allow yourself that moment, but then also allow that, nah, I'm just playing. I love you and I love everybody. I'm going to be the best I can so I can make the world the best place possible. Like use both sources.
Also,
of
when
motivation.
you practice something, I think just trying to keep when you keep trying to get better at something, sometimes from my experience, people that are not so much concerned with getting somewhere, but they're in love with the practice of whatever it is that they do and just continuing to grow and get better. Sometimes that's probably the best way to, I guess, avoid the trap of ego, because what happens is you get really good at something is you get status and you get a lot of attention. But if your eye is focused on sort of not being complacent on what you just did and rather thinking about like how much more there is to discover,
sure,
that is a really good way. So like whether it's the guitar, whether it's stand up, whether it's jiu-jitsu, I think that there's a lot to be said about people that just fall in love with the process of it and keep trying to get better because you discover more about yourself. It was like my wife saw she competes in horseback riding, and somebody got really, really hurt, and they had to be taken away with an ambulance and stuff. And she said, "I'm really afraid, and I'm also afraid for our daughter because I don't know if I want my daughter riding horses." Now, initially, I was like, "Great, I'll save a lot of money, get her into tennis, and yeah, it's risky," but then she kind of wanted me to talk her out of it. I realized, and we were having this conversation, and I said to her, the truth is that you want your daughter to ride. You want to ride because you guys share something really special. And I said, in a way, riding is so impressive and fun for you because of the risk. And in a way, you probably have to do it because it's risky. And in a way, its value comes from the fact that there is a latent danger. There is kind of what you were talking about. You do have to kind of face your fears every time you get in that saddle. Got to face your fears every time you put on gloves and fight somebody, whatever it might be. When you go to Peru and you got to go to a 5-hour fucking trip where they give you a red stone to put in your heart. So I think maybe that's where the value lies.
Well, that's also part of flow state, right? One of the most pleasurable states of being that you can be in, where all of the best drugs that the body can produce, come flood your body, and you're in a state of stillness and presence, and having the stakes be high, is one of the criteria for the classic flow state experience. So big wave surfing, dressage riding, I think, that's certainly one of the things that we pleasure monkeys like the best is to get out of our head and just be fully present in our body. Because when you're completely present, there's so much pleasure, and that can happen in sex. It can happen when you eat. It can happen when you're performing. But when you're absolutely anchored to the present moment, the pleasure that you feel is fucking infinite and so awesome. And I think everybody, once they taste that, they understand like how cool this video game that we're playing is. Like, this is the best video game we could ever make.
Stilling your mind. I was listening to this nerdy. It's so hilarious. This guy who's into synthetic biology. He's a scientist at MIT, and he's coming up with like ways to come up with synthetic biology. He's like on the forefront of science, and it's very imaginative and stuff. And he's such a nerd, but he's so smart. And you see him, and he crab fishes. And he was talking about how with crab fishing, you've got to be so focused on tricking the crab into your net, blah, blah, blah. But the point he was making was, I like to crab fish because it stills my mind, and my ideas, the best ideas I get are when I'm driving home from crab fishing to the lab and my mind has been completely washed and empty and I'm not thinking about what I have to do.
Just focus on the crab.
You said that about stand-up. Like
I would say the only time I'm really present, it's one of my biggest issues. When I'm with my son at night, which is why I don't do dinners, the only time I'm really present is when I'm with my son at night playing, because he like crawls on me when I'm on the ground. I gotta like watch out for him. Or when we do a live Fighting the Kid, when I'm doing stand up or live Fighting the Kid, that's really the only time I'm present.
Yeah.
It really is, man.
Podcasts too, like in these. Human connection is so fucking special. That was actually one thing I learned at Burning Man. Like Burning Man is a ridiculous place where there's
pictures that look like Mad Max.
It was like Mad Max and like lights and naked women and drugs and
steel horses
breathing fire,
thongs with
and yet
horse masks riding on them.
I'm horny.
It was exactly. It's like every pleasure you can imagine, but really, ultimately, the best times had at Burning Man were just sitting in the RV laughing with homies, which could have happened,
of course,
at any place.
Drive all the way into the desert.
Yeah, exactly. But and that the idea that there's all this pleasure around, but the very, very best thing was just before we were going out, having a few beers, laughing with new friends.
No shit.
And like that was the best thing. So it's like, here, let me give you everything so I can show you that what you have is enough.
A good meal with friends and laughing.
Nothing better.
Let's do some
best. Current events.
With Evan the Beard. Evan doesn't have a beard anymore.
Yo, still call him it.
We still call him it. Oh, shit.
What?
Nothing.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll jump into a couple today. This is kind of going on at every college campus. It seems like it's really, really weird. People are dressing up as creepy clowns and like committing crimes. It's some straight up. What's that movie be? I know you've seen it.
Talking about The Purge?
Yeah. It's The Purge shit. Like some kid is gonna think this is funny, dress up like a clown, and get shot right in the fucking face.
Yeah.
Well, they've been dressing up as these creepy clowns, and I don't know where the clown kind of terror comes from. I guess the movie It, right?
Yeah.
Would it be It that caused that?
Or
because
John Wayne Gacy, who killed 14
that's
boys
true,
or 32
and that's real
boys.
life.
Yeah.
But people in American Horror Story had a terrible clown on there. But it's weird that society's like terrified of clowns now. Like you can't be a clown and make money at kids' parties anymore.
No.
What are you, an idiot?
But
Like do you hate money? You just can't do it.
About that, the
fake happiness.
Yeah, it's like
the creepiest thing.
Yeah, a grown man painting his face. It's super creepy
Clearly
when you
a
think
cannibal.
about it. But so people are dressing up doing these things, but people are whooping their ass. Like the guys are dressed up as clowns, like scaring people. They're getting their ass whooped. That's on college campuses. People are like, what?
I'll punch you
Whoop
in
his
the
ass. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's like this weird kind of trend starting right now.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that aren't doing it as a joke either. Like, there's been a couple armed robberies from guys dressed up as clowns. There's been like attempted sexual assaults. It's insane how many colleges' Twitter feeds are filled up with clown whatever spotted at like this part of campus. Like, be careful.
Jesus, that's
who does this
scary
shit?
careful lesson.
Weird.
Get your friends together and beat the shit out of that
Yeah.
fucking clown
Yeah.
and take his mask off.
That's one
let's
of
go
these things that's
clown
happening.
hunting.
Go clown hunting.
That happened. They had it was a hashtag was trending. It was hashtag clown hunt to 2K16.
I'm part of that movement.
Me
I'm
too.
down.
I'm part of
we
that
do an
posse.
Abbott Kenny
Part of that
Clown
posse.
crew. The Abbott Kenny Clown crew. God, that's a tough one to say.
Yeah.
What else you got, Ev?
Get an
Fuck those
insane
clowns.
clown posse together.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
There it is.
Bring it all together.
Insane anti-clown posse. That's what we call it. Okay.
All right, next one. We were just talking about the UFC 204 coming up this weekend and how Bisping would get it done, or how Hendo would get it done. And Perillo came out today and said that Bisping's going to beat him via left head kick.
And I love Perillo. I think he's one of the best coaches in the business. But because he's not known for knocking guys out via head kick, so if that is your secret weapon, well, you just told everybody. And it's Dan Henderson. You don't think he's ever seen a left high kick before? And if anyone's going to get kicked in the head, it's going to be Bisping. He can't see out of his eye, for God's sakes. And he's been knocked out how many times by a left high kick? Vitor Belfort, rock hold. Like that's his MO.
Can
you know?
Hendo get that leg up there that
Probably
good
not.
these days?
That's gonna be. He's getting old.
He head kicked Lombard.
Spinning.
That's
Spinning elbow, right?
well, that's how he finished him.
That's how he
finished him. But he head kicked him. I mean, he really caught more.
Neither
of the shoulder.
guy's known for it. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
bold claim. I love that coach. He's probably the best guy in the business right now. But that is bold, man. What else you got, Ev?
Next thing we got is a little stat got dropped today, just kind of putting into perspective the next UFC event, and that's that BJ Penn does not have a win over a fighter who's not retired since his win over Diego Sanchez in 2009, yet he's headlining the event that follows 204 against Ricardo Lamas.
And it's on Fight Pass.
It's a Fight Pass event.
It's BJ Penn though. It's BJ Penn. Like he's a legend. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Is he on the fight until it starts getting real bad?
no. If he gets murked in this one, Dana to tell him to retire 100%.
I thought he retired a long time ago, but I guess he
He
hasn't.
didn't.
He was going to retire after Frankie
That was a tough fight to
annihilated.
watch.
That was a really tough one to
He
watch.
probably should have retired. Then he had like the high footing.
His
Remember that?
feet was on. Yeah,
Aubrey, you're around fighters all the time. Do you like, and you have some fighters work for you at Onnit. Do you ever meet any, because you meet so many guys, obviously you're best friends with Rogan, so you're around him all the time. Is there guys that you wish you could tell to stop? Or is there guys you see and you're like, dude, like this?
Actually, I've had one of my best friends at the time, and I don't want to put him on blast, but he should have stopped way before he did. And he's not in the UFC anymore, but you start to see the signs where they haven't adapted to the different training styles, and they had early success doing it their way. And he was just a tough dude with a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And he kept going, and it's sad to see. And you start to see signs of the damage that start to worry you.
Well, it's like
it's
your
really
girl,
challenging.
shout out to Whitney Miller. Your girl took on a fight.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And she came out to LA to train with Tony Jefferson at Boxing Burn, and she looked amazing. But she won and she beat the shit out of this girl. And for her first fight, I mean, if she wanted to, especially in female boxing, she could do it. Like she beat the brakes off this girl. Yeah, used a jab and footwork and
Yeah,
was
it was awesome.
ducking and diving punches. Like she annihilated this girl. She looked amazing. Anyways, she won the fight, and the first thing I text her and Aubrey was like, let's make sure that's the last one. Let's not do that again. Like, she was Miss America or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
Miss
Like
United States.
she's super smart. She doesn't go, let's not do the career of boxing.
Yeah.
And that was it. It's diminishing returns from there. She had the courage to step in. She performed at 110% of her
looked
ability.
great.
She moved on. But there's some people who should keep going. Like I'm good friends with Donald Cerrone. Like he's fine. Like he's in his fucking flow right now.
That's
like,
what he's born to
sure.
do.
And even though he's fought so many fights, like, yeah, man, keep it going.
Now's
And
the
there's
time.
other people
100%.
like,
looking better than he ever has.
yeah, other people like, yeah, man, just be smart, and think about the other things in life before you start doing something that's going to, hurt you further.
100%. What's this, Ev?
Last one we got for you today. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Paris cops and basically everyone is just completely onto the fact that it really, really seems like this Kim Kardashian hold up for $10 million worth of jewelry was an inside job.
I told you.
Yep.
There's no surveillance footage. The only camera that was operable wasn't even facing the house. There's no footage from nearby businesses. And her bodyguards were only gone for like this small, hour and a half long window where they were at a nearby nightclub to bodyguard
Courtney.
for Kendall and
Courtney, I think.
Courtney. Yes.
So have you heard about
Conspiracy.
This? Have you heard about
Were they
this?
French bodyguards or were they
I
just her
think-
traveling?
No, they
I
only
think
spoke
her
French.
and Ryan Lochte were fucking in on it together.
Wait,
Let's ask Ryan Lochte what he thinks.
this just
He's like, they pointed a gun at me too.
It's Justin.
Skyping in Ryan Lochte.
So yeah,
Ryan Lochte,
What do you think, Ryan? Dude, I was there pointing the gun right at me and her. But they're saying that they knew she had the ring and where she was going to be at because she posted on social media. Like she was like, "Oh, here's my $10 million ring from Kanye, and here's my necklace."
The question is, are they broke? Like, is Kanye really broke? Because he comes out every once in a while and is like, I'm broke.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's like,
he's
what?
not. Yeah, he's a.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, he invested all this money into his business, so he made it seem like that. He's just outlandish. He's weird. But with Kim, they were saying how they had a gun to her head, put her in the bathtub, tied her up, and she was like begging for her life and was like, "Come on, I'm a mother. Take whatever you want." And she even goes, "The ring's here. What else do you need? Just let me live, man. Like I'm a mother."
Yeah, it's terrifying. That's all you think about is your kids.
Crazy, man. But it's 100% inside job. I'm sure they get to the bottom of it, or not.
Yeah, that's
Well,
French.
knows?
I feel like the first rule of doing an inside job kind of deal is make sure you have someone that you can frame. You don't just like do it and there's no one else to blame. You point them in the direction of someone else specifically.
I bet you somebody powerful came up to those bodyguards and said, "Hey, dummies, here's what you're gonna do. This is how you can make a lot of money."
Why don't you go grab a cup of coffee for
Yeah.
about 6 minutes?
No, that's fine, but you got to put the scent of someone else on the job.
Right, but they just
I'm sure someone will.
They were
There'll be leaked
incentivized.
information.
They got paid to look the other way. and then
100%. They're like,
the
listen, we're not going to hurt her. We're not going to do anything
You need a fall
nasty
guy.
to her. They're like, we're just going to steal a ring,
Yeah.
tie her up, and get the hell out of here.
And that's exactly how we.
And we'll give you-
that's how.
That's how we.
I mean, that
we're
anyway,
in France then.
Moving on.
Ryan Lochte.
Ryan Lochte.
how Ryan Lochte-
Ask him how it went
The
down.
mastermind, Ryan.
Oh, I finally finished that documentary.
The Amanda Knox one?
And so
Don't give it away.
yeah, right. So the guy that did get convicted of murder, I forget his name, the one black guy in the whole thing.
From the Congo or some shit.
No, he's from Italy. He's an Italian guy, but the one black guy that they did put away for like 20-something years for murder, they don't even acknowledge him. Like they found him guilty and like that's not a story. Anyways, I'm back to Amanda and them, and he's like, "What the fuck, man?"
Jesus
he's out now, but I still think they had something to do with it.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely had.
I gotta watch it.
Okay, you watch it
I don't
online?
think he did it. She did it though. Like,
What are you guys talking about?
Amanda
the Amanda
Knox.
Knox
Married
thing.
in Italy. She was an American. She was in Italy. Her roommate was savagely killed, cut her throat. Amanda
a
Knox
ritualistic
was,
thing.
Amanda Knox was very promiscuous and like she had this boyfriend for 5 days. They'd read like Harry Potter and fuck, and it was very strange. And then what the head detective of in Italy was thinking, and they do a reenactment, like animation's terrible animation, but it's like she walks in, it's Amanda, her boyfriend, the black guy, and they're like, getting ready to do some weird shit, and then that girl walks in, she just starts kind of just bad mouthing, like, "You're a whore, blah, blah, blah." And then one of those guys gets up and does something. So that's what they think.
Jesus.
But she got off. Yeah, she's living in, I think, Seattle now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Amanda Knox.
I was telling them my old roommate used to look like her.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she showed me this picture of her old roommate.
Just
It's
like
the
her.
spitting image of Amanda Knox.
It was very strange to me because the media put it like heartthrob, gorgeous, supermodel. I'm like, are we looking at the same
Pretty, I
girl?
think.
People get so twisted about people wanting to have sex with other people, like whether it's the OJ thing or anything. Like, we're pleasure monkeys, man. Like
pleasure monkeys.
We like to fuck things. Like,
Yeah.
everybody relax.
Preach.
Everybody
Aubrey.
relax.
Tell them. Drop knowledge
take a
on
deep
them.
breath.
Yeah, that's like.
It's cool.
Yeah,
I need
it's
you
all
to make
good.
Definitely.
I need you to make a telephone call after this for me. I just need you to talk to 2 or 3 people in my life and just kind of explain that.
Jealous
it's
is a
all good.
natural impulse, though. It's a strong caveman thing that's in us, and
Yeah, but so is a lot of shit, and we can transcend that as well. We have-
Is
we have the
murder
power.
not in our?
sure it is.
Yeah.
But you look at our nearest relative and animal relative. It's the bonobo.
Bono.
Yeah, and the bonobos, and they're fucking just pleasure loving. Like,
Yeah,
everybody hump.
matriarchal
Yeah,
society.
if there's tension, everybody just fucks.
But then there's chimpanzees. And chimpanzees solve
Chimpanzees
everything with
are a little
violence.
different.
They
The
rip, they
chimpanzee?
rip your dick
So-
and your face off. That's how they
will-
solve things.
They sure do. They bite your genitals off, and then they come for your face.
That's why this one's smiling so much.
Exactly.
Dick
He's a
off.
pleasure
Rogan-
monkey. We don't do anything.
He's a
about
dick
that
biter. We're pleasure monkeys.
exactly right.
We all got dick biters in us, but we can choose to be pleasure
That's right.
monkeys.
thing. You got to drop knowledge?
I have a drop of knowledge. I
What
mean,
do you got?
it's
What do
a
you
quick
do,
one.
fan?
Real quickly, just the idea that, do you know when people say they're stealing our jobs overseas, this idea that we have to bring jobs back to this country. The problem is that sometimes other countries are way better at it, and companies find it way cheaper to do it. So 40% of our clothing is made in China, and
Not mine.
yes, but China's losing their jobs, their
Bangladesh.
manufacturing jobs too. Malaysia, and also especially Vietnam. So now 10% of our clothes are made in Vietnam. And growing because Vietnam can do it for way cheaper. So nobody has a monopoly on who gets to make sneakers and who gets to make jeans. Just keep that in mind that nowadays that's where globalization, which has its problems, also has huge benefits because it makes it cheaper to make
But aren't
things.
they saying it's taken away from jobs and businesses here? So like when
yeah.
Ford goes to Mexico, like that's Trump's problem. Or when Apple moves all their business
Sure.
to China
Sure.
because it's cheaper and they can pay the China workers 10 cents on the phone.
It also makes
because
your
here
phone
there's
cheaper.
because
Makes your
here
phone
there's
Right.
It's 300 or is no. The markup. Think about the markup.
That's
the
different.
markup
That's different.
of-
What I'm saying is that overall, economists all agree that when you're able to make something for a lot cheaper, the price comes down, and so that's why it's
or the business gets rich, right?
both. But you can't see businesses go to where it's cheapest to make their product, and then they bring it
100%,
back and stuff.
100%.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that just keep that in mind that the global marketplace is as such, and companies are going to go, and it changes from country to country. It raises their standard of living by and also allows them to buy our goods as well. So if you look, there's some very good articles I can talk about.
Did you know
which
at Apple they had to put up nets because so many of the workers were
Suicide
committing
nets.
suicide?
What?
Yeah.
Oh no.
What are you saying though?
Oh no. Yeah. Well, by
They
the
had to
way,
put up nets.
I mean, and that's
nets.
and
I just got an Apple Watch, which I
Maybe
can't
they
get
just
enough
like
of.
doing flips and shit.
No.
Like,
Maybe
just
it's like
Well,
gymnastics, some shit.
that's the other thing. To
I
talk
just got
about.
an iWatch, which I can't get enough of.
How many people had to die for your iWatch?
I was trying to think about like who jumped off a roof for this.
That's crazy.
And then I just got the new iPhone 7, and I'm like, dude, they're building all this shit in China while they're jumping off. I can't
Well,
get
in
enough
China now, because they're making their standard of living has raised as a result of all this investment. But one of the things that they talk about is that the real culprit to taking American jobs and why manufacturing went overseas was 400 million very productive Chinese workers that came onto the marketplace, not to mention technological innovation, where a lot of stuff is being technically, with the advent of technology, a lot of jobs, human effort is not needed because machines do a better job, robotics do a better job. So when you're talking about job killers, you've got to look at the global marketplace, which is so hard to stop because it does bring prices down. And you're also talking about automation. It's only going that way more. You will start to have Chinese people complaining that their jobs now are going overseas to places like Vietnam.
Yeah, but like a
And
lot
then
like
Vietnam will have the same
But
problem.
like Apple, like they avoid paying taxes here, right? So they're
Sure.
they're the biggest business in America, but they don't pay the same tax.
I think in
everywhere.
Ireland there was a whole situation like that.
I think ultimately, if you look far enough into the future, eventually we have to drop this kind of tribalism idea
Yes.
where like we got to protect America. Americans got to.
Doesn't work.
We got to look at everybody as people, and every person needs an opportunity to have a life of dignity and wage and stop this like, oh, our jobs are going over to Mexico,
Right.
like the Mexicans don't deserve jobs or something like that. Like they're a different class of human that doesn't deserve that. Like eventually we got to dissolve all of these borders, dissolve all the religious differences, and just look at people as people. What's best for people as a whole? One tribe, one nation, one world.
The problem is
that's ultimately
one
where we gotta
tribe
go.
thinks that their religion and their ways of doing things is the only way, right?
And the people who are different are other and somehow lesser. I mean, it's the cause of all conflict in the world. You make somebody, instead of looking at them like, oh, that's me, just born in a different country with a few different ideas in the home. That's me living a different life. Instead of that, it's like, oh, that's those people, these subhuman people that are different than me that I can kill or exploit or something like that. Like, we got to elevate the consciousness of everybody so everybody looks at everybody like, oh, that's just me from a different culture.
That can be hard though when you don't have the ability to feed your family, and the problem. One of the things that
But we don't have that in America though. Like,
but we
everybody's
do in
feeding their
certain parts of the country. The problem with globalization is it has left a lot of Americans in its wake where they can't, because a lot of towns were essentially propped up by huge manufacturing industries.
Sure.
And when those manufacturing industries went overseas,
Talking about Detroit?
a lot of different countries. I mean, a lot of the coal industry, a lot of different
Countries or
industries.
states?
I'm sorry, states. A lot of different states and towns where the coal industry and all that stuff where the whatever it might be when a car company goes overseas, etc. it does leave behind a wasteland, and we've done not such a good job of retraining people so that they could go into other industries and be more productive workers. And that's what we need to do. And I think it's only like something like 0.5% of the government's budget goes to retraining. Yeah. Now, I don't know how you solve that problem. And again, I think a lot of it is that some countries are just going to be more productive at building widgets than, say, Tennessee is. And
I think like you had Bernie, who got like a lot of momentum, right? He really wanted to tax the hell out of the wealthy. Yeah. But the problem with taxing the wealthy is you're never going to get at people's already accumulated wealth. No. It's not how you tax. You tax the income that they're getting from now and into the future. You can't tax existing wealth, right? And you're also forcing money out of people's hands, right?
Exactly.
The best way to get wealth distribution is to elevate the consciousness of those who are wealthy so that they want to give money to other people. Because then they're giving not only the money that they're making currently, they're giving their stores of wealth. And I think that's the issue. I think we have a consciousness crisis globally, and that's the only way to solve it, is to convince people that, man, I want to help people. Like, fuck, Detroit's suffering. Let's make that the most artistically beautiful public works, place in the world, right? Let's fund all the different art projects. Any artist who wants to get set up, any sculptor who wants to get set up, I'm going to back them with a scholarship or however. I don't know. I'm just spitballing random ideas. But the idea that to get people to want to help the fellow man and fellow humans, that's ultimately the only way that.
So let me ask you this, Aubrey, before we shut this bitch down, with the current presidential campaign going on, do you have a dog in this fight? Is there someone you're leaning towards?
I mean,
I've always hates Trump.
Yeah, I've always been a libertarian at heart. So, and they have a saying, same shit, different piles. This shit in both Democratic and Republican piles are particularly foul and stinky.
Agree.
So, yeah, all right. Gary Johnson doesn't know the capital is Syria, but still, like, I think he's the best option.
Yeah.
That's who you're going to vote for?
Yeah. That's the best option.
Vote, though.
That's a good
best
vote.
He's not going to vote. He's not going to win.
No.
It's literally like throwing away your vote.
I don't know what to do.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know
like,
how
let's
to
say you vote, and trust me, I see the tweets, I see the emails. Well, there's a third one in the running. No, I get that. You might as well not.
No.
The chance of him winning are slim.
But what if he gets maybe 7% or 8%, and all of a sudden it creeps, and the next election a third party candidate gets 13%, and then the next time they get 17%, and then all of a sudden you have a legitimate, system that's broken this yoke of these. We're going to prop these two.
I think it's huge that a
people
libertarian is actually in the conversation
Yeah.
because it's an amazing philosophy, one that I adhere to as well. And I think most of us are libertarians without even realizing it. I think most of us.
So that's who you're going to vote for, B?
The only reason I probably won't vote for Gary Johnson is because he's a vote for Trump, actually, technically. So I think
because
I can't believe that I would even think about voting for Hillary Clinton because
you got to vote for someone.
She's just not somebody I agree with.
So you're not going to vote for Gary. You're not going to vote for Trump.
I don't know what to do.
I'm
avoiding.
You have no backbone.
I don't know what to do.
Pick someone.
I'm probably going to have to vote for Hillary.
Just because you don't want
because I think it'll be business as usual. Because I think that she's ultimately more competent. I think Trump. I worry is a bit unhinged.
Is there anything you like about Trump, Aubrey?
I like his tax ideas personally. I don't know.
Man, no, I think I honestly don't have a lot of faith in the actual power of the president, though, also. Yeah. Like, I had a lot of hope for what Obama was going to do. I was like, man, we got a good guy in. And then it's just like, what are you doing, man? Nothing.
Not much you can
nothing.
Yeah.
And so I really am not as afraid of either side. I just think the president is a lot less powerful than we really realize.
Which is a good thing, right?
Yes.
In this case,
imagine if Trump got voted in,
sure.
And let's say, let's say he's as crazy as people think he is, which I don't think he is. I think it's all part of his plan and all this stuff. So let's say he gets in, he's as crazy as he's like, nuke, and can just fucking do whatever he wants. Then we're screwed.
No, that's part of the checks and balances. That's what the founding fathers were.
There's a whole
such
squad,
geniuses of. You've got a lot of checks and balances, but the next president will decide who the next Supreme Court justice is. That's huge in how they interpret the laws, and that's a very big deal. And it is going to color the fabric of our country in the next 20 years, and it'll have probably in many ways deep ramifications for whether or not we move in toward the left or toward the right.
Hillary's a better choice. And I think that because Hillary is just going to stick her finger in the wind and do what most of the people generally want. Like,
And she's
I don't think she
probably
has
pretty
that much of an
competent.
agenda to like, whereas Trump could get a crazy idea and try to
run with
ram
it.
and try to
Yeah.
fucking ram it home.
Yeah.
Hillary's going to be like, what's my approval ratings
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be? She'll just
Yeah.
kind of stick her finger in the wind and we'll
That's a
just
good
kind of go
point.
It's
that
the
way.
safe pick, is what you're saying.
I think
It's
she's
the safer
safer.
pick. And
She's not
I
gonna
think
do
look,
shit, she's just
politicians
the safe
always lag, generally, except for Trump, who may lead, but they lag behind what the people want. So if the people really want change, like, we got to change ourselves
That's
first,
It
and then
sounds
the
like- it
politicians
sounds like
will
That's
react.
right. That's
it sounds
right,
like you
Aubrey.
want Trump, sir.
I'll tell you what. With Trump for president, with a Congress that's majority Republican and a Democratic president, that mix will cancel each other out. So in a lot of ways, it might paralyze government, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They won't be able to do too much, and we probably want that. The less government, the better. That's what I fucking say.
This might
Aubrey
be
Marcus.
the deepest podcast we've had. Aubrey talking about his ayahuasca trip.
got into some
Bunch of
heavy
shit.
shit.
What else, brother? They can find you just at Aubrey Marcus.
Yeah, at Aubrey Marcus. I just launched that documentary. It's from 2 years ago when I went to the jungle. It's at drinkthejungle.com. Download, you can watch it for free. Just put in your email, get it for free. I got online course, Go For Your Win. That's at goforyourwin.com, talking about finding what your ideal win is. That's coming. And, of course, all the Onnit stuff and everything else, man. Just be happy, love people, be a pleasure monkey.
Yes,
Enjoy
sir.
Total
life.
gut health.
Aubrey Marcus, couple 1, 2, 3 pleasure
Come
monkeys.
see me in this weekend. Where am
You're in
I?
Seattle.
Seattle at Parlor Live.
There you
Bellevue.
go.
Come see me Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm bringing some heat.
Booyah! Then the Final Kid is live next week. We're in Oxnard. That bitch is almost sold out. Get tickets right now. tfatk.com.
Snard.
And then the following week we're in Brea, California. Kind of the OC.
Fuck
Orange
yeah,
County.
it is. Fuck
We've
yeah,
been there
it is.
before. Sold that
You
bitch
filthy
out.
animals.
Oxnard, Brea, that's all we're going to give you for right now. Oxnard, Brea, tfatk.com. Master Kim's drop next week, you filthy animals. Couple 1, 2, 3 pleasure monkeys. This is the Final Kid. We're out.